We are categorizing what is femininity.
Suddenly, everybody wanted to be on the transgender train. And then everything had to be changed. Women's rights had to be destroyed.
We're learning over the last 20 years is that male and female categorization doesn't work.
The fact that you have somebody on this panel that is advocating for the ability to debilitate young boys, do you realize how sick that sounds?
Critics are demanding that boxer Iman Khalif is stripped of her Olympic gold medal after a leaked medical report appeared to confirm that the female boxing champion is in fact a biological male. Well, J.K. Rowling called the finding a victory for women. But elsewhere this weekend, quite the opposite. 16-year-old student athlete A.B. Hernandez, who's biologically male, tied for first place in the high jump and triple jump of the track and field championships in California. President Trump's executive order to ban transgender athletes in women's sport felt like a full stop on a long and exhausting debate. A number of major sporting bodies all over the world used the cover of Trump's move to announce their own bans. But clearly the work is not yet finished. Here to debate the implications around both stories, trans rights advocate Dr. Helen Weberly, aka the Gender GP, Sara Weiss, the trans pickleball player and author of Not Born This Way, and the host of Tommy Lahren is Fearless on Outkick, Tommy Lahren. Welcome to all of you. Tommy Lahren, I am clutching here the lab report which was sensationally published in the last 48 hours, which confirmed what I and many others, you included, had concluded with our own eyes at the Paris Olympics, where Iman Khalif was looking like a man, boxing like a man, and beating up women in the ring so badly that one, an Italian female boxer, quit after 43 seconds and said she'd never been hit that hard in her life and feared for her life. So it was bleedingly obvious there was something wrong here, particularly when we knew that Iman Khalif had been banned from the previous year's World Championships after reportedly failing a sex test. And this is the result that got leaked. Now, this is pretty unambiguous. Chromosome analysis reveals male karyotype. That's it. It looks like Iman Khalif is a biological male. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Piers, the science doesn't lie. It's great to have that clarification, though none of us really needed it. I think it was abundantly obvious to those of us with eyes that watched any of this. We knew exactly what was happening here. But you'll recall, Piers, sports journalists, especially here in the United States, they called for people like you and me and Outkick and other outlets that were honest about this to be sued up, down, right, left, center. Oh my gosh, how dare you misgender this person? You guys are so evil. It's so awful. Well, where's the apology? Because as we suspected, the biology test came out, and guess what? 100%, we got our answer. That's a dude. And we need to be very clear about all of this. There is no place for men in women's sports. If you are a man who thinks he is a woman, that's fine. You can dress up, you can wear makeup, live your life, I don't care. Until you infringe on women and girls, then we're gonna put our foot down. Finally, here in the US, we have a president that's doing something about it. And I hope California, I know we're gonna get to this with A.B. Hernandez, I hope California loses all of its federal funding. Enough is enough.
Now, I completely agree. Dr. Weberly, I know you do not completely agree. So let me start by just asking you this question. Why, out of interest, why do we separate the sexes in the Olympics?
It's a historical thing, isn't it? You know, that we have male and female categories.
But why do we do it?
We're learning over the last 20 years is that male and female categorization doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
Because you can't, not everybody fits into a very simple male-female category, and that's why we're having discussions like this. It's not.
But
it's
everybody.
Not
but this is the problem with the whole debate. They actually do, because the vast majority of human beings fit into the category of male or female.
I have to say something.
Well, no, hang on. I'm going to come to you, Sara, and I will. I promise you.
The vast majority, you say, and that's the vast majority, and that's.
It's only in the last 2 or 3 years that suddenly half the world went, actually, I'm transgender. Before that, everyone lived quite happily as male or female, with a few people identifying it who were leading perfectly good lives, and there was no problem. Suddenly, everybody wanted to be on the transgender train, and then everything had to be changed. Women's rights had to be destroyed. Women's rights to fairness, equality, safety had to be completely ignored and eradicated at the altar of transgender activism. And I have nothing against transgender people. I've said from day one, if you're transgender, that's absolutely fine by me. I hope you have the exact same human rights as me in every regard, to human rights, to safety, equality, all of it. But that's not what's happening. And in women's sport, unfortunately, this absurd obsession with allowing transgender athletes to compete in women's sport has seriously damaged the integrity of women's sport, the fairness, the equality, and as we saw at the Olympics, the safety. We now know that Imam Khalif was a bloke.
Well, Imam Khalif is not transgender, so I don't really know why.
Well, you don't know that actually, do you? You don't actually know you don't know what Imam Khalif is. All we know from this leaked lab report is that Imam Khalif tested positive for male chromosomes. So last time I checked, that makes you male.
Well, I don't know how that came into your possession.
Have you seen your lab reports, Piers?
Well, it's here. It was leaked, yeah. It was leaked.
Have you seen yours? Do you know what your chromosomes are?
I know that I'm a man, yes. I am a male. And by the way, if I took you on at pickleball with enough training, I would win. You know why? That's why we separate the sexes. And I'm sure you're great at pickleball, but I also know that, for example, when the American women's football team, soccer, as you so shamefully call it, but when the women's soccer team with Megan Rapinoe, that towering force of equality, when she was leading that team, they were the best women's soccer team in history. And they played, I think it was the Dallas under-15 men's team, and they lost about 7-1. Right, which just kind of suggested to me that my theory that the reason we separate the sexes is because males have a biological advantage is actually why the transgender debate in women's sport is also obviously wrong. Let me bring in you here, Sara, because you are a semi-pro pickleball player. Pickleball, I know, is a very fast-growing sport, and I have great respect for all pickleball players. But the bottom line with all sports of this nature is that if somebody like LeBron James decided to take up pickleball and really worked hard at it for a year, he would hammer you into oblivion, and there'd be nothing you could do about it.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought all this stuff up. And the first thing that I do want to mention, it was mentioned that it was obvious that Imam Khalif was a male.
Yes.
And I think that is part of the most harmful part of this, is that we are categorizing what is femininity. And then we're putting it out there like propaganda.
No, male biology. We're categorizing what is male biology.
If somebody doesn't look feminine enough.
No. It's not about femininity. Nice. It's about identifying male biology when we see it with our own eyes.
Identify things with lab reports all you want. But if we are putting out this propaganda that you have to look a specific way, and if it's obvious that you look masculine, then you're going to go under a microscope of people who do not like the fact.
Hang on, Sara. No, it's when you look that way and it's already known that you, the year before, failed a sex test, which meant you were banned from the World Championships.
Might say that about
It's the two things going together. It's like, oh, hang on. This person was banned for testing positive, apparently, for male chromosomes. Cue the lab report, which now confirms that. And is now competing in women's sport in the Olympics in a boxing ring where her women opponents are quitting after 40 seconds because they've never been hit that hard. I'm putting all these three things together and I'm saying, this is wrong. Why aren't you?
Now, the problem, though, is that if you're putting that out, and sure, there might be certain things that say, hey, well, what about the accusations that she's a male and stuff? The fact that there are many lesbian women or women who do not look feminine enough. Yes, I'm not denying.
It's nothing to do with the way she looks. I'm sorry, Sara. I don't care how she looks. She could be 8 foot tall for all I care, with a long scraggly beard. It has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that she's a biological male. That is the problem, which gives her a natural... And let me bring in Dr. Webley. You know as a doctor that men have a biological advantage. Muscle mass, lung capacity, blah, 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 blah. It's why we separate the sexes. Otherwise, in the Olympics, women wouldn't win any gold medals, or silver, or bronze.
Not true.
Actually, women would win...
I've got a good idea for
I think I read a survey that said women might win 2 medals in the entire Olympics if they made it gender neutral, which would be a disgrace. Now, Dr. Webley, why are you as a doctor trying to ignore biology?
I haven't been able to speak yet, so I don't know why I'm being...
Feel free, fire away.
It. Thank you. I've got a really good idea, right? There's a load of debate about puberty blockers and gender-affirming care amongst transgender people worldwide. If we let transgender young people, transgender feminine young people, have access to the puberty blockers and gender-affirming hormones that they are asking to have, then they wouldn't build that muscle mass, they wouldn't have increased skeletal size, and they wouldn't have
What
the
age are you going to do
advantage.
this?
Well, you usually get puberty blockers when puberty starts. That's
So what
happens.
age are you going to do this to kids?
Well, I just answered, when puberty starts.
Give me
you
an
block
age.
it. Well, puberty starts between the age of around about 8 to 11.
You're going to
depending on
give
whether you've got
8-year-olds
testicles or
drugs
ovaries.
to try and resolve this problem. Have you learned nothing from the whole Tavistock clinic? Well, I don't think it's funny. I'm a father of 4 kids, including a 13-year-old girl. I don't think any of this is funny. The fact that your solution is to drug is to block puberty for 8-year-old kids. Really?
I'm a mother of 5 children, and I believe that every single child deserves the right to live their best life.
Absolutely fine.
And for
as Tommy said,
some
nobody
children,
has a
that is
problem.
a transgender
You can
life.
live as a dog or a cat, as far as I'm concerned. It's
No,
fine.
I don't think I'd let my children do that. Sorry,
Well, actually,
Piers.
there are kids at school called furries who go as a cat. And I said...
We've had this argument time and time again.
And my
We're not talking
solution,
about
by the way,
furries.
my solution is I would absolutely respect their right to be a little furry cat, and I would give them a little litter tray outside the thing where they could go and urinate, and I give them cat food. And trust me, after 2 days, they're back being girls again. Tommy,
Piers, I have a question.
Tommy, the
I have a
answer,
question I'd
Tommy,
really
well, hang on,
I'd
Sara.
like to ask you.
Hang on, don't all talk at once. Tommy, the answer apparently is to give puberty blockers to 8-year-olds.
So my
Piers,
question...
that's called child abuse. And the fact that you have somebody on this panel that is advocating for the ability to debilitate young boys so that they have gender delusion, so that their body is now being mutilated, their actual biology is being changed irreversibly so that they compete against little girls. That's really the solution here. Let's debilitate boys so they don't have an advantage. Let's make sure that they don't have better muscle capacity and lung capacity. Let's make sure that they're just debilitated. Why don't we just break their arms and their legs while we're at it so that they can compete against the little girls? Do you realize how sick that sounds? That's abuse.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is. And Sara, I know you're keen to get into this debate. So on Saturday, A.B. Hernandez wins gold in the girls' high jump and triple jump at the California High School Track and Field Championships. The problem is A.B. Hernandez is a biological male, right? So that means a girl has been deprived of winning 2 gold medals. How can that be fair? How is that right? How is any of this not just completely insane? And why would you, as a trans person, not see that and then think the obvious solution to this is that either you compete against your biological sex, as most trans athletes have done for many years before they suddenly put their hand up and say, I want to compete against women, and then they're much more, and then they're much more successful, which says it all, or you have your own category. What is wrong with having a trans category? What is wrong with that?
Well, there's so much to unpack here. I mean,
not really.
Tell me exactly how many trans athletes have gone and made a career out of sports, who are making a living out of sports as a pro athlete.
Well, the United Nations said that
you are all using that it's
the United Nations said 900 medals have been
dominating.
The United Nations.
That would be easy to point out to all the people who are dominating. And
you asked me a question. I'm replying. The United Nations had a report recently that said 900 medals last year around the world were deprived from female athletes because biological males who were trans athletes competing in women's sport won the medals. It's much more prevalent. It's much more prevalent.
Medals in that,
it's much more prevalent than the trans world would like people to think. And now you've got people like A.B. Hernandez, who's being supported all over the place by a woke left who didn't get the memo from Trump's win that people are sick of this garbage.
How terrible is it that a trans woman is doing well?
It's terrible that
you have to point out
it's terrible that a biological male. It's terrible that a biological male has an unfair physical advantage that allows the trans athlete, in this case, A.B. Hernandez, to win gold medals in 2 state events. It
With
is
such
not
an
just
advantage,
terrible,
you would
it
think
is
she
shame.
won some
It is,
kind of
it is an
record-breaking
absolute
victory, which
Sara,
she did not.
Sara, it is an absolute disgrace, and you know it. In your heart, you know it. This trans nonsense in sport has to stop. My question for you, why don't you just
Why is it nonsense?
Why don't you? Because you've got unfair advantage. It's like cheating with drugs. It's the same thing. It's like when all the cyclists,
then
cyclists
why do
took
we
EPO.
celebrate it in males? Why
Sorry?
do we celebrate biological advantages in males? Why?
When do you ever see a trans man do well in sport?
Many times.
Go on, name
Many
one.
times.
Name one in the
you
boxing.
You guys just aren't focused
Name one
on
in
it
the
'cause
boxing
they're
ring.
males.
You ever see a trans male boxer do well?
Yes.
Go on, where? Name me an Olympic gold
I don't
medal.
have my source in front of me.
Name me the last time
unfortunately.
a trans
I'm not
male
here to-
won Olympic gold against a bloke.
How many trans people in general are winning
More
Olympic
and more
medals?
and more. That's the
Imane
problem.
Khalif won
So
a
I
medal
say,
and you
Too
have
many.
your own,
destroyed
have your
her.
own
many.
pickleball trans category. I don't care. I want you to be enjoying your sport. I want you to be great at your sport. I want you to live your life, live your dream. I just don't want you trashing women's rights. What's wrong with that?
Women's rights are my rights.
Well, they're not
Women's
really when it comes to
rights
sport,
are my
are they?
rights
No,
as
you're
well.
not. If you're
and
not
if
a
you
woman,
want
then
to
they're
try
not
and
your
take
rights.
away my rights, that's on you. But I will fight every day.
You're
for the
taking
people who
women's
are being
rights away. Why would you?
discriminated against,
Why do you care
demonized
about
just
your
because
rights
they
but not
enjoy
women's
the sport
rights?
that they love?
Right. Why do you care about your rights so much but not women's rights?
I do.
You don't.
I am a woman, so I care about my rights as a woman,
But you
and
have
I
a
stand for women
superior
with women.
advantage to actual biological females.
No.
You know it, and I know it.
My biology is much more female than it is male. And we can go on about science, but I'm not here to talk about science. I want you to get to know
It's
trans
all
people
about
before
science.
you try and demonize them.
I don't
can tell
demonize
you
trans
this.
people. I know trans people. Caitlyn Jenner is a good friend of mine. Right, Caitlyn Jenner won Olympic gold as a decathlete for the United States as a male because Caitlyn was born a biological male. Caitlyn now is a trans woman
why don't you
celebrated
want to
around the
allow-
world, and she
Your big
absolutely understands she has a superior biology, so she does not think it's fair. Why is she
So, okay.
wrong and you're right?
I'm not saying I'm wrong or right. I can only tell you my experience. But what I can say is that if you truly believe that going through male puberty is something that gives you such a massive advantage, then why are you fighting so hard to take away the rights of anyone who wants to go through puberty blockers, which is safe and reversible, and make the decision amongst themselves?
No, it's not. That's a lie. That is a lie. That
No,
is
it's
a
not.
lie. Not only are you advocating for child abuse, but what this is, Piers, this is not only gender dysphoria and delusion. This is pure narcissism. It's a group of people that have decided that they are special cases, that they are sacred cows, that they get to do whatever the hell they want. They get to trample over everybody else, and we have to concede to them because they feel that they are special. You can be special or you can be equal, but you cannot
what
be
is your
both. If you want to
problem
live your
with
life as a
someone
female,
who has
whatever,
nothing
but not
with
when
you?
you're trampling on the rights of women. Period. This is narcissism. This is saying, look at me. I'm more important. All those other girls can get over it. It's just a few girls that are being left in the dust. Oh, well,
That's
just
what you're
a few
doing.
examples. If there's one
That's what
woman
you're doing.
who's being disadvantaged, if there is one woman that's being
Mm-hmm.
disadvantaged, that's too many. And Piers, it really, really burns my ass when I hear people say, oh, it's just a few examples. Those girls can just get over it. How about the one trans person? How about they get over it and compete against the boys? How about that?
Yeah.
How about this?
Listen.
You know, you talk about having separate divisions for trans people.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's pretty split down the middle between people who support trans people and people who do not. And here's the opportunity you have to create a league where trans people aren't allowed. Go for it. And there's an opportunity to create leagues
I think
where
you should.
we
In your
accept
case,
all.
I think in your case, you should either compete against male pickleball players or compete
Well, that's what
in
you think.
or compete in
But
a.
you are
in a-
not everybody,
or
Piers.
you compete
and
in
I
a
do
trans-
agree that there are many who agree with you and there are many who agree with me that there is no threat.
I don't know why
that
you want to be
transgender women.
Sarah, why do you want to
propose.
be a cheat? I mean, seriously, why do you want to be a cheat? That's what you're doing. You're cheating.
cheating? No,
Yes.
I think that's
I'm
very
playing a sport I
disrespectful.
love.
I think that's
You know what?
very
You know what,
sport I
Dr.
love, but
Webley?
people I
It
love.
really isn't. It cuts to the heart of the debate. It is cheating. It is knowingly using a superior biology from birth to beat women who are born with female bodies. It is cheating.
I'm not a
And it's time
scientist,
to call
Piers.
it out for what it is. And Dr. Webley, the idea you're a doctor and don't think that this is about science is breathtaking to me. Breathtaking. Of course it's about
Human
science.
being. I'm a doctor, I'm a human being, I'm a compassionate person.
What's that got to do with it?
I think,
Why aren't you compassionate to women
Do
who
you
are
want to
losing
hear what I
gold
have to
medals
say
to
or
men?
not? I don't understand why you have that both of you have this huge thing where we have to, not one single woman must be affected by these terrible
why
trans
should they?
people. What about inclusion? We are living in a world where we want everybody
Oh, it's got
to play
nothing to
nicely
do with inclusion.
together.
This is where the trouble
100%
starts.
it does.
It has everything
What's
to do with
inclusive
inclusion.
about
This is
women
about
losing to men at
creating-
boxing? What's
We've
inclusive
heard
about
very
that?
clearly that in this panel we have 3 women and we have 1 man. You've been very clear about that.
Well, you
And
have
the
2
3
women,
here
1
should have
man,
equal
and 1 trans
rights.
woman. That's what you have.
We have 3 women and we have
We
1
have 2
man.
biological
And the 3
males
women
and 2
all
biological
deserve
females.
to have
You
the
could call it
same
anything you
rights.
like, but we have 2 biological males and 2 biological females. That's what we have on this panel.
You know, Piers, you opened this up saying if you trained hard enough, you could beat me easily.
Yeah.
So how do you see me? Am I a male or am I a female? Because if you think you can easily beat me because you're
Well,
a
I
male
happen to be
and I'm
very
a
good at
female,
pickleball, so that's a different matter altogether.
you kind of tattled on yourself there. I'm just saying.
No, it's a good point, and I take that one. But Dr. Webley, I just find it baffling that a doctor thinks this is all about feelings and compassion. It's not. It's not about trans rights to fairness, equality, and safety. I want them to have fairness, safety, and equality. What I don't want, and Tommy doesn't want, is an erosion of women's rights to those 3 same things. And that is what's happening in sport. And that's why this is wrong. And I call you a cheat.
Can I ask?
Sara, I purely call you a cheat because you all know that this is fundamentally unfair. And I don't understand
no,
why you
that's not
you
true.
want to
If
bring
you lived my
mockery.
life, you would
I don't know why you
understand.
want to expose the trans community to mockery and abuse and calls of cheat and so on, when you could just have
You
your
think
own
I'm doing
category. When you could just have your
think
own
I'm the one
category.
doing that.
You could have your own category.
You guys are the ones
or you could
doing that.
compete against your biological sex. Then no one would complain.
I do. I compete against everyone, and I have a blast, and it's a ball. The only people who have a problem are the people who are talking about it and have nothing to do with sports, let alone pickleball.
Yeah, if
But my
LeBron
community,
James,
my pickleball community accepts and loves me.
Sara, if LeBron James wanted to play basketball as a woman, would you be happy with that if he suddenly was in the American women's national team? Yes or no?
I think it'd be hilarious. I'd be so curious.
It'd be
and
hilarious,
fascinated,
but
and I
obviously he
take
would
part in it.
completely destroy every record ever set by an actual woman. Would you respect his right to compete as a woman in the American women's national basketball team? Yes or no?
Do I want to compete with LeBron James?
No.
Hell yeah.
No. Would it be right for LeBron James to compete in the women's team if he identified as a woman? Yes or no?
Right and wrong is going to be relative to what you compare.
Just say
it to.
right or wrong. Would you be right or wrong?
No, it's not a simple black and
Actually,
gray and white
really is.
question.
And in fact,
because
you can't
everything
answer
in
it.
this world that we live
Okay.
is not binary.
So you're not saying it would be wrong for LeBron James to
No,
compete
I'm
as a
not
woman?
saying it would be wrong.
You're not saying that?
No.
Hilarious. Dr. Webley, would it be wrong for LeBron James to compete in the women's national team for America if he wanted to?
He's not a woman. He's not. He doesn't live as a woman. He doesn't identify as a woman.
So
he
if you're
he's
not a
perceived as
biological woman, you shouldn't be allowed to. Is that your position now?
So what is this biological woman that's just suddenly arisen? Because I went to medical school.
Biological woman is a
finished
woman born with
92.
biological chromosomes, which says she's a woman. Not difficult.
But
You
it's
should know that. You're a doctor.
professional
And there
sport.
are many people. You can keep saying because you're a doctor, you ought to know this.
Well, you
And
should.
It's just not bright.
What are you a
The
doctor
thing
in?
is, chromosomes.
What are you a
different.
doctor in?
We said at the beginning that that it is not 2 categories, male and female, and chromosomes do not fit into 2 categories. Hormones don't fit into 2 categories. Reproductive organs, external genitals do not fit into 2 categories, and nor does gender identity. Now, this person you're speaking about, I don't follow American
Well,
sports. so I
LeBron
don't know
James
them.
is 6'8", He's probably
If they are a man,
one of the
if they are a
three
man, they
greatest
should be
male
in the
basketball
men's.
players in history. If he was to put his hand up and say, I'm now transgender and want to compete in the women's game, would you be happy with that? Yes or no?
If the rules say that transgender women are equal and invited into that sport category, and this person properly identifies as a woman rather than just one of your made-up kind of things, which I feel that this is, then yes, if the rules say that trans women are
Fantastic.
included in
Well,
this.
Sara and Dr. Webley, you have just ruined women's basketball irrevocably for the rest of the time.
Poor women.
Because
Oh,
LeBron
wait a
James
minute.
would break every record in women's basketball, never to be beaten by a woman, and that you think is equality,
Oh,
fairness,
whoa.
and everything else. What a load of old cobblers.
Such a joke.
Ironically.
This is honestly
Thank you all very much
forced me to
indeed.
have these kinds of conversations.
Nice to talk to you all. Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask for only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate and entertain. And we'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more critical, and we couldn't do it without you.